Today we will estimate with two-digit divisors. These are the steps for estimating with two-digit divisors. Number 1, round the divisor using rounding rules. 5 or above, give it a shove. 4 or less, let it rest. Step 2, use the dividend to estimate higher and lower to determine the estimate of the dividend. Step 3, cross out the zeros in the divisor and dividend to determine the number of zeros in the answer or the quotient. Number 4, divide the compatible whole numbers. The example that we will be using today includes the numbers 2,242 as the dividend and 33 as the divisor. Step 1, round the divisor using rounding rules. I'm going to look at the divisor and determine that I will be rounding the tens place. I will use the ones place to determine the new value. The 3 follows the rule. 4 or less, let it rest. So 33 will now become 30. I will be finding two estimates, a lower estimate and a higher estimate. So I'm going to write the number 30 2 times. Now, I'm going to go ahead and set up my division problem so that I can find an estimated dividend for the higher estimate and an estimated dividend for the lower estimate. I'm going to start with the higher estimate. I will be using the 3 in the divisor, and I will be using the numbers 22 in the dividend. To find a compatible estimate, I will look at the number 3 and the number 22. At this point, I will ask, can 22 be divided evenly by 3? It cannot, so they are not compatible numbers. I'm going to start counting up because I'm trying to determine the higher estimate. So the next number would be 23. Can 23 be divided by 3 evenly? And the answer is no. It is not a compatible number. So I must continue to count up. 24 is 24 a number that can be divided evenly by 3? And the answer is yes. 3 and 24 are compatible numbers. So I'm going to write 24 in my problem, as you see here, because 24 can be divided evenly by 3. They are compatible. In my original problem, there were 2 other digits besides the 22 in the dividend. So I must hold those places here with zeros. 24 replaced 22, and the 2 zeros replaced 4 and 2. So after I have used the dividend to estimate higher or lower, to determine the estimate of the dividend, I'm ready to cross out the zeros in the divisor and dividend to determine the number of zeros in the answer. I will look at the divisor and cross out 1 zero. Because I have crossed out a 0 in the divisor, I may also cross out a 0 in the dividend. The remaining number of zeros, which is 1 0 in the dividend, tells me that there will only be 1 0 in my answer or quotient. And I'm going to place it over the last 0 in my dividend. Now I can ask myself, what is 24 divided by 3? Step 4, 24 says divide the compatible whole numbers. 24 divided by 3. The correct answer would be 8. 24 divided by 3 is 8. I have finished the higher estimate. Now I am going to find the lower estimate. I'm basically doing the same thing. I am using the 3 in the divisor and the 22 in the dividend. I will be counting down from 22 this time. Is 22 a number that can be divided evenly by 3? The answer is no. So I will count down. 21. Is 21 a number that can be divided evenly by 3? The answer is yes. 21 is compatible with 3. So I'm going to place 21 here in my problem. The 21 here in this dividend replaces the 22 that you see here. The 4 and the 2 must be replaced again in the dividend here so that each digit has some number in its place. Once I have placed all of the numbers correctly in the dividend, I can cross out the zeros in the divisor and the dividend to determine the number of zeros in the answer. There is 1 0 in the divisor, so I can cross it out. I can go over to the dividend and cross out 1 0 in the dividend. There is 1 0 remaining, which means there will be 1 0 in my quotient or answer. It is placed over the last 0 in my dividend. Next, and finally, I'm ready to divide the compatible whole numbers. 21 and 3 are the compatible whole numbers. What is 21 divided by 3? The answer is 7. 7 times 3 would be 21. So my estimate is 70. This is the lower estimate. So, round the divisor using rounding rules. We rounded to 30. Use the dividend to estimate higher and lower to determine the estimate of the dividend. Here we rounded or estimated 22 to the compatible number 24 by counting up. Here we estimated the compatible number 21 by counting down from 22. Then we crossed out the zeros in the divisor. Then we crossed out equally 1 0 in the dividend. In each problem, there was 1 0 remaining, which meant in our quotients there would only be 1 0 in the answer, or the quotient. And I placed it above the last 0 of the dividend. Then I was ready to divide the compatible whole numbers. 24 and 3 were our compatible whole numbers here, and 24 can be divided by 3 8 times. Here, 21 and 3 are our compatible whole numbers. 21 can be divided by 3 7 times. 70 and 80 are the estimates. 70 is the lower estimate, 80 is the higher estimate.